Cease your doubts. Come, follow me to the internal void. Welcome back, lore seekers. This is for 7G, and we finally arrive probably the one of the most darkest and most complex lore out of all the classes in Elsword. The lore video we'll actually be focusing on today is actually Ain's third job path, Herrscher. Before we actually jump into this lore video, I'd like to give a shout out to Hannah, who actually provided her own gameplay of Herrscher, in this case for this lore video. Without her, this actual lore video as a whole wouldn't actually be possible, as I actually haven't been playing many of the classes due to real life problems. For future lore videos, if you actually want to provide your own gameplay for a particular class that likes to be featured in a future lore video, you can actually drop down your Discord ID in the comments down below, and also provide the class that you want me to cover in the next lore video for that character you're actually playing, so that way I can get some fluid gameplay just to show the community, and at the same time I probably can use those as a materials just to back up some lore videos for that particular class. By doing this will actually help me a lot, and actually much more sooner I can actually release those lore videos at a much more timely manner. Without further ado, let's jump into the lore video of Herrscher. When Hoffman sent Ain on a quest into the Shadow Forest, Ain immediately fell prey to the demonic energy that emanated around him. His emotion evolved into fear and fury, and a storm of violent emotion take hold. Ain begins to panic when he sees the manifestation of dark energy swarming around him, but regains composure when he hears the L search party's call. Together with the Elgain, Ain tried using an L-powered now-sound machine to sedate the dark energy, but it only got stronger. His last resort is to seek the help from the goddess Ishmael, but when she does not respond, Ain falls into a deep despair and his dark emotion feeds the seed of chaos. The power of the goddess starts to become corrupted, and his body, which exists solely for the mission, breaks down. Ain is now wrought in doubt, and from his doubt, a new form emerges. For this lore tab for Lofty Wanderer, we as the lore seekers already get to see the process of him becoming corrupted by the Henry energy. If we actually want to know how did he get in the first place, we would actually have to go backwards to Ain's base backstory and take the observation of the images that's been provided by the game, and this is actually when he actually got too close to the Henry energy and might actually start the process of infecting him. And according to this lore story, the actual dark energy from the Shadow Forest, this actually triggers the corruption process that actually starts from eye and then later on starts spreading to his arm. And as a result, the only thing he can actually feel or have emotions of is fear. Comparing to his other classes, this particular class is focusing on fear, abandonment, and forsaken. The concept of forsaken actually does reinforce when he actually tried to call out to Ishmael, but actually doesn't respond. And the actual reason why that she doesn't respond to him is because she doesn't actually want to interfere with the dark energy that Ain has right now. And this actual core concept actually does tie into what actually happens in real life. One example I can actually give you is the fact, for example, if I actually see this nest of hummingbirds and these baby hummingbirds actually in their nest defenseless, if I actually do decide to go up there and actually touch them around and put them back in their place, and then when the mother comes back, the mother actually decides to abandon her babies because her babies are actually tainted by human hands and no longer recognized as her own. And this actual principle also applies to the reason why that Ain was able to keep reaching contact with Ishmael, because he was actually tainted with Henry energy, and from Ishmael's point of view, she actually might have theorized that he actually might have been fallen to the Henry side or the dark side, so therefore she can't actually take him in because he was tainted. And now we can actually jump to his next job path. In this case, it's going to be apostasy. Ain carries on with the mission, but as he continues to use his power, the chaos and corruption further corrodes his body. Traces of Henry also emerge and become painfully obvious. He continues to suffer through the agony, but only continues his mission. Ain is defeated to receive answers from the goddess, but upon arrival, he was overwhelmed by the presence of demonic energy and sheer numbers of demons surrounding the area. Ain is unshaken and charges to the battle, but comes to face with the Dark L. He becomes consumed by the fully realized seed of chaos. The mission is for those who will eventually disappear, and I, who is created for nothing more than the mission, mean nothing. Ain sends from the chaos, completely abandoning the goddess and the mission. He has embraced Henry's chaos and ultimately become the ruler of the abyss. Ishmael, have I been forsaken? In this lore tub for apostasia, this is the actual point for Aang actually deciding to abandon his mission as because he actually knows the truth behind his existence. If he fulfills his mission, he's going to disappear. He actually asks himself what's the point of doing this if he's going to disappear anyway, and actually change his thoughts of what his goddess is. And he thinks the goddess sees him but nothing more than a pawn, and she can always make more of him if she needs to. Hence his reason why abandoning her and the mission, and also accepting the Henry energy that he was actually corrupted with. His class name actually translates in Greek apostasy, which is the abandonment or renunciation of a religion, and therefore he's actually abandoning his religion or believing in his goddess because he actually has some disbeliefs of her. Finally, we arrive to his very last path of this class. In this case, is going to be Herrscher, and it's probably the best class in terms of the lore video because of how dark it is compared to the other classes. Aang is the master of void, reborn from emptiness, sending his enemies back into nothingness with endless chaos. Once Aang denies the goddess and accepts the chaos, he begins to destroy everything that stands in his path. Even his body was ephemeral, given to him by the goddess. As such, Aang abandons his meaningless form to be reborn as a true master of void. He feels freedom for the movements he threw away everything that tied him down along with his physical body, and decides to reclaim his body in order to guide others to follow his path. He was no longer of this world, merely a vestige of chaos. I stand here at the things of all things. As a master of void, he simultaneously exists everywhere and nowhere. He guides the pitiful to his realm of void. For this lore tub for Herrscher, this is actually the very turning point when he actually decides to create everything on his own and turn everything into emptiness. The lore actually states that Aang is no longer a physical being or alive, and his actual body that we see in game is merely a shell of his true void form. To further state in his corrupted path, instead of using the pendulum that he actually uses compared to the other classes available, he actually mainly uses the scythe, which is often looked down by other religions as a sign of a bad omen. Possibly the concept of Aang's philosophy behind this class is actually emptiness or nothingness. And the actual core concept of nothing as a whole can be confusing at times, as a lot of people debate about it because there could be a lot of meanings behind it, and there's a lot of great thinkers out there such in the past such as Parmenides and Aristotle. But the actual philosophy that I will be focusing on that could be closest to where Aang is actually in the Eastern philosophy, and they consider nothing as part of a state of mind that they can actually think about. And if this person managed to achieve this state of mind of thinking about absolutely nothing at all, they actually can do something that they couldn't do if they're actually thinking about consciously. A classic example of this is actually when an archer attempting to erase the mind and clear the thoughts to better focus on the shot. Which is kind of ironic because you're actually constantly focusing on trying to hit your targets, and you're constantly worrying about other variables that actually could impact that shot, such as how long you've been drawing the string for, if the arrows actually is a particular material, how the bow is, and there's a lot of things when it comes to that shot, and then that kind of concerns the person as a whole. But if they only focusing on the goal rather than those other things that can worry the archer, he can actually reach his goal. And this actually happened in Herrscher when he actually comes to accept the fact that all emptiness is true and he doesn't have to worry about a single thing because his physical body is already gone, and all that limitation he has before is now released now, and he actually has no limits of what he can do, such as sending emptiness to his opponents or basically guiding others to his philosophy, just like the lore tab says. So, will you actually follow Aang's philosophy in terms of emptiness and accept his teachings, or will you oppose it and Aang will show you true emptiness into his personal hell of the void? That wraps up the video for Herrscher and his lore story and how actually became the be that we see him today. Just like always, if you actually have a character that you'd like to request to become the next lore video for next week, you can always drop down a comment down below to see which class you'd like to see in the next video. And guys, thank you for watching this lore video. It's because it does have a dense and complex lore behind it, and it does take some deeper research in terms of his philosophy like I did for him, and learn things that we actually never learned before. That wraps up for the video today, and this is Herrscher, and I hope you have a nice day.